So on with the show. Louise, managing business costs in Excel. This is this week's workbook session with a Q&A. Would you like to introduce our fantastic, our fabulous, and our effervescent guest speaker?
I definitely would. Well, today's BiZHUB guest speaker is a very experienced trainer with a long, successful career in the informational technology industry in training people. She's got a wide range of IT and training and coaching skills, but she's perhaps best known to the BiZHUB members as an Office 365 trainer. Today, she's here to give us all some help using Excel to manage our business costs, and will no doubt share some useful hints, tips, and shortcuts that will help you whatever you use Excel for. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Suzanne Driver. Yay, Suzanne. There she is.
Coming online now. Hello. Hello, Suzanne.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Hello and good morning. Okay, the floor is yours, Suzanne. We will be here if you need us, but please take it away.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to go into a presentation now. So I'm going to just share my screen. So thank you for inviting me along to the hub this morning, and exciting to be part of this new online hub. And it's great to see so many people in the room, as it were. So I'm just going to go through managing the business sort of costs, things like that, and just give a few hints and tips. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Suzanne. I've been a Microsoft trainer since 1996, so just a couple of years. And I've specialised really in Excel and SharePoint, although I get involved in all sorts of consultancy and training right the way across the 365 spectrum. And I learned spreadsheets on Lotus 123 for DOS. That gives my age away rather a lot, but it has actually proved invaluable, as I, you know, often refer back to how things were. So I'm going to just split this sort of talk this morning into three little sections. One, have you got an insight into your business costs? Two, do you forecast your cash flow, which at the moment is more important? It's always important, but it's very important now. And do you identify trends? Now, that is a little bit tricky at the moment, but still something that we need to consider in the business. And maybe it's a great time to set up models now while you've got a bit more time, sat at home at your desks. Yes, got lots to do, but have you got time to set up these models so that when you get back into life, more normal, then you will be able to just pull in figures and get everything out the other end. So, insights into business costs. What costs do you have in your business? What do you spend your money on? What do you spend your business money on? And that will really make a difference if you are in a production type company to a more service-based company where you may just need a telephone and a computer. I don't need to purchase lots. Mine's more service, you know, related. But obviously Hogmore Distillery, as an example, have got to purchase things for the production. And that will all affect your business. So one of the things I want you to really think about today, while we've got the opportunity, is what costs that you've got, but I want you to put them into a spreadsheet. And that can be expenses. I did like somebody at the LinkedIn evening we went to, and I think a few people have said it, that you now get 7 weeks to the gallon. So, you know, my expenses line last month on my profit and loss sheet was 0, which is amazing considering I don't know as many miles as everybody, but I do 1,000 business miles a month normally. So seeing that 0 line, it helps with the reduction in income at the moment. So yeah, marketing costs, costs for computers, and costs for room hire, things like that. So my first little section that I'm going to talk about is make sure that you control your costs in a spreadsheet if you don't have a financial accounting package. And even if you do have a financial accounting package, I use Xero like quite a lot of businesses now. It's a fantastic system, but I still need to do some modeling and some analysis, and I take the data out of Xero. It might be Sage, it might be QuickBooks, and that's something that you might want to have a chat about later, what you actually use. But I take that data out and sort of analyze it. Now, these are not my figures. I don't have manufacturing equipment, and that's quite a nice high total there. So what I want to do to start with is something nice and simple in an Excel sheet that will help you build that. So whether you take that data out of all your costs, and it may be in your financial system, you don't split it out as much as you would like to do. So it may be that you have figures in your finance system and you want to detail it out a little bit more. You know, something might go under computer software, for example. I know mine does, but then on my spreadsheets, I like to actually break that out between Office 365, Adobe, Zoom, and all of the different applications, so I can manage the costs individually. So what I'm suggesting is that you do a cost analysis and put all of your costs into a spreadsheet, annual costs or monthly. It doesn't really matter. You could do this monthly or annually, and then add it up at the bottom. And there is a nice simple button in Excel called Auto Sum, which is the Greek sigma sign. And all you need to do is click underneath and it will add up. Now, once we've got that figure, we've added up that data. What I want you to do then is to be able to refer to that cell to calculate the percentage of each of those. There is a more complicated way of doing this, but if you're new to Excel, this is nice and easy and makes sense. When you click on the cell, you can go up into what we call the name bar at the top and name it. And what I'm going to do now is just go through a recording to show you. I click in the cell at the bottom, I click on my auto sum, that's added it up. And I've entered that into the cell. I then go up to the top and I name it. I've named that cell total costs. So I'm going to do equals, click on that cell to the left, and I've done that wrong. So I'm going to do it again. Even experts get it wrong. So total cost, I'm not 100% expert, but it's just a little bit of fun. equals to divided by total cost. So I've used that cell reference and I've dragged it down. Now I could have gone to the black plus sign and done a double click, and that has copied that formula down. So we have the percentages of each one. I'm now going to do a cumulative percentage. So I'm going to take the stat cell first of all, because the first one is the cell, and then I'm going to take the cell above and add the cell to the left. And then if I go to the black plus sign, I double clicked that time, and then that has given me the cumulative percentage all the way down. So a couple of little formulas for you, whether or not you're looking at costs, they are really useful formulas for all sorts of analysis that you may want to do. Okay, so let me just go on to my next one. And from that, you can produce a beautiful pie chart. There are so many options in Excel for charts now, and if you haven't looked in the last couple of years, they've put extra ones in as well. I'm going to share one of those with you today. But these are fabulous, your business costs. And if you do need to talk to anyone else about your costs, it may be that you don't want to look at actual figures with people, but just what percentage that you spend on things. So you can do a nice pie chart because you're not talking actual figures here. So what we're going to do now is just look at taking the data, and you'll notice that I'm selecting what I call the labels, what they mean. And then I'm going to go to the insert ribbon, and then I'm going to select a pie chart. And there's all sorts of charts. You can have 3D ones, and it creates a floating object, which you can see I'm resizing on the chart, on the spreadsheet. And on the ribbon, there's all different sorts of layouts that you can change it to. Just what's built in without spending ages. When I first learned how to use spreadsheets, we had to identify the axis for a bar chart, a column chart. We had to identify all these series. You just highlight it now and insert your chart, and then you've got all sorts of options to play around with how it looks. And don't forget to think about your branding. And that object I can copy and paste into PowerPoint. I could paste it into a Word report to send off to somebody, or if you're getting good with Office 365, you might even have Sway. Anybody swayed yet? So this one is known as a funnel chart. This one is one of the newer charts that they have in Excel. And you can see it's sorted with what you spend your money on first, going down what you spend your money on least. And you've got the funnel to your cost. So it's a nice way of being able to look at those. So I'm going to now show you how to do that. I've highlighted the range again. I've gone up to the charts, and I've gone to recommended charts this time. Recommended are brilliant because they give you ideas. What chart perhaps would you like to use in your spreadsheet? So if you like the funnel, then just drag it out. And if you want to, maybe change the color scheme. And then, of course, we can do the same. We can copy and paste it. into any other application. And this is called a Pareto chart. You know, the 80-20 rule that we use for all sorts of things in business. You get 80% of your work from 20% of your customers, all sorts of things. So if you have data, you can actually do the curve to look at where the 80% is, to actually see if and how your business works on the Pareto sort of curve. This is perhaps not the best example. If I had customers and income, I know we're looking at costs, but you would very clearly see with this that you probably get 80% of your income from 20% of your customers. And again, it's one of the new charts, so try it out. It's great to analyze these things. People talk about it in presentations all the time. Look at your sort of, you know, your 80-20%, but have you actually sat down and looked at your costs or your revenue against your customers? Does it fall within that, or are you just guessing? Now, what I wanted to show you now was another technique about when you've got your spreadsheet. How many of you keep budgets? How many of you plan budgets? So it's really important with your costs, whether it's annually and monthly, to keep a track on your budgets and what you're spending against what you think. And if you really put your spreadsheet together properly, what it will do is it will enable you to very quickly change your figures if something changes. And this current situation means, I'm not using the C word, this current situation means that I've had to look at my budgets, I've had to look at my forecasts and my analysis. And if you've built your spreadsheets properly, you just put in a couple of figures here and there and everything recalculates. You haven't got to necessarily change so many things. This is an example of using conditional formatting, which I think is really good. How many people in the room, which I can't see you, of course, how many people in the room like looking at numbers? We don't necessarily all like it. If you're an accountant, you may, but a lot of people prefer that visual approach. So how many of you would have preferred to look at that funnel chart or the Pareto chart or the pie chart rather than actually reading the figures that were presented to you? And in this case, this is a way of showing how in a bar on some cells, whether or not, you know, what the percentage is. So if you look at this figure down here, the colour bar, it goes all the way across. And the others are just a percentage of that. So here we go. Let me do that for you now. So I'm going to put my calculation in, take the cell to the left, minus the actual. Click on the tick to stay that as the active cell. Bottom right, double click to fill out all of the values. So that's my formula. Okay. Oops. Then I'm going to select those cells. And I'm going up to my conditional formatting. And I'm selecting data bars. So easy to do. And it very quickly shows you where you've spent the most, etc. You may want to do it on the percentages, it's up to you, but I love conditional formatting. Conditional formatting really helps in the way that you look at those figures and makes them less boring. Okay, let me just, and going on again, don't want to keep seeing it. So yes, that's the result. Looking at that. Now, managing your expenses, if you've got people who work with or for you, you should all really be keeping expense sheets. Unless you have something like use the expenses in Xero that will manage it, and of course the inland revenue will accept that. If you don't, then you should have some sort of expense sheet. Make it easy to add up, make it so easy to manage. Where possible, maybe use an online expenses system. Whether or not you record your mileage directly into your account system, you need to make sure that you've recorded the actual journeys. So your costs for your expenses need to be managed and recorded. So something like this, where you just look at your start and your end and just set it up nicely with a nice mileage log, will help you and mean that if you get any questions, you can see very clearly where you've been when. So hopefully in that section 1, you learned something about Excel. If you're a user of it a lot, then possibly not, but hopefully most people will have learned at least one thing there. And what we're going to look at now is cash flow. So this is so important, and now more than ever, because we need to be able to project when money's coming in, when money's going out. We really need to keep a handle on it. And because I have my cash flow set up in a lovely Excel spreadsheet, I'm obviously going to just share some examples with you today, but I literally just adjusted what I needed to, the money coming in, everything cascades. And I can know when I might struggle. If things continue as they were, I know how long I can sort of carry on as I am. And it's useful to be able to understand all of that. And for some of you, I understand that your cash flow's gone up, which is fabulous to hear at the moment. So you really need to think about either each month or each week, if you want to do it weekly, which I do, how much money that you've got on hand at the beginning of the month or the week, then how much money do you think is going to be coming in, and then how much money is going out in that week or month, and to give you how much that's going to be at the end, and then you repeat it. And of course you tweak it as time goes on, because money might come in sooner than you expect. I've been quite impressed actually in April that debts that I used to have to chase, I think some of the larger businesses are being really good at paying people at the moment. And I've been quite impressed on the way, I may be just lucky, that they've paid my invoices that I may have been chasing into May already. So I'm quite pleased with that. And it just means that you can keep a handle. So I've had to just adjust because I didn't think that I was going to get some of the figures. And it may be as simple as this. This one's an example. I know it says 2017, but it's just an example of what you would use. So you have your carried forward figure, how much money I've got coming in, how much money I've got going out, what I might need to put into my VAT account, my payroll, my tax, and then you do a calculation. And it needs to be as simple as that. And then you can just, as you get into Excel or more adventurous, you can add other calculations in as you want. My dates also add 7 each week, so that if I change one week, it just cascades all the way through. And my money in the bank at the bottom, that cell is equal to that one. That's all. Equals that one. So let's just have a little look how I've done that. And I'm just doing a sum of those two minus the sum of those underneath, even if the cells are blank, because this means if I carry the calculation forward, it doesn't matter whether there's a cell in it, data in that cell or not, it would take that figure forward. I press my tick, that's the active cell. I get the plus sign and I drag it along. And then very quickly I can see where maybe I need to look. And if I add conditional formatting on top, and I've put in here that I'm looking for the minimum. Now I could leave it as that, which is a fixed cell, but I'm actually taking the dollar signs out, not very beautifully on this example, and okay that. And then you can see very quickly, I've used my conditional formatting to see where the figure is lower than what I want as the minimum in my bank. Just play around with something as simple as that, and you've got a basic cash flow that you can work with. I think I've repeated that, have I? No. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I'm just going to go back, and I was on the next one. It looks the same. So this one is just showing you the date and then going to the next date and actually taking the cell to the left and adding 7 to it, which means that you only need to change the first date and all the others will cascade for you. Okay. And don't forget, manage your income. So what do you have in your income? Returns, collections, all sorts of things that you may be doing. What are you paying out? Any loans, and chart it. And here's a little gem for you if you don't know it. F11. F11, unlike the charts that we were looking at earlier, F11 gives you a chart on a separate sheet in the workbook. And a good one for cash flow is actually looking at the line charts. And what you'll see is that £500 I had as my minimum in that spreadsheet, I've just put as a line chart going across, and then the actual cash flow, so you can see when it dips below the line. And it's only going to take you a few minutes. If you want, maybe watch this back, put it together, you've got your models, and you can just work with them and keep them going. So I'm going in this case to select week 1 to week 8. I'm holding my control key down and selecting that range, holding my, oh no, that's just the line chart I've done, bar chart there. So F11, if you're on a laptop, you might need to hold your function key down, but F11 will create you a chart on a separate workbook. Just see. And this one, I've included those minimums. And then I've just done a right click and changed it into a line chart. Easy when you know how, isn't it? It's just so easy to check when things need to be looked at. Sort of manage your tax as well. How much money, this is not mine, I have to say, this is just an example. How much money do you have to pay on tax? What's the payment on account? What's the money that you're paying on, you know, the 31st of March? What's your liability? What's your liability for the following year? Put a spreadsheet together, build a model. How much money have you saved? How many months is it? That's a calculation where it looks at today's date and works out how many months left until the payment is due. That's a scary countdown. I've got 9 months before I pay my tax bill. There's obviously a potential payment in July, which at the moment can be deferred. Keep a track of every time you put money aside underneath the calculations at the top, which will reduce how much you've still got to find, and watch it count down. I always feel so much better, you know, as it's getting smaller. And then last section, possibly not so valid at the moment, is that we can identify trends in our sales. But I think, you know, thinking about like Sue Griffiths and, you know, what things are selling better than others, maybe what makes the most profit in the distillery, you know, what bottles of gin sell best or have the most profit margin. All these types of trends are so useful. What biscuits do people prefer to buy? That's just a slide. I've copied and pasted that from the internet, but it is a crash course, not understanding where the trends are. What is your trend analysis? What's selling well? What's not selling so well? And I have a little sort of Excel trick here called spark lines. So they're mini charts basically within your spreadsheet. And what they do is to show you over here whether the figures are going up or going down. And whether you do it over the months, it's up to you. You could do product one by month. We could put them in here. We could put them in here. We could switch that round. And they're not floating. They're actually embedded within the cell. Let's look. So here I'm going to a cell. I'm going to insert my spark lines. There's different spark lines. There's a bar, a win, a loss. I'm picking my data range. Now, I've made a mistake there, which I didn't realise this morning, in that I included, I've done it on purpose, of course, so that you can see that you don't do it. I've included the total in that figure. You should not include that total. So, but I wanted you to find something wrong that you had to spot. No, I made a mistake. And don't forget conditional formatting again. This one is using the icon sets that I had before I used the data bars. An alternative option is icon sets. And I just highlight my area and apply the conditional formatting, and it shows me in the percentages of those values, which are the higher values, the lower values, and sort of like the medium values. Try conditional formatting out on some of your figures. You'll love it if you've never done it before. And that helps identify trends. But also Excel has a little built-in trend line option that all you need to do is click your mouse and it will show you whether you've got a downward trend or an upward trend. So if I sell 4 products, I can put, I've only got an example of 2, I could put 4 trend lines on those products. For those people who are very mathematical, you can choose the type of trend line, whether you're taking into account seasonal averages, whether you just want a straight linear one or an exponential one. But it's just as simple as a right click and add a trend line onto your bar chart. Won't take you very long. And I can see then I could be projecting that and thinking, right, okay, based on this, the product here, I'd probably want to change the colorways and things like that. But this product is going up. This product is actually going down. And yeah, I could change the format afterwards so I could be very clear which one's which. So these will help you make decisions around what it is that you should be maybe putting more effort into in your products. It's not necessarily the product that is the highest value. Interestingly enough, with my charts, I was able to see very quickly that although my sales had gone down in April, the actual ratio was actually quite high because there's lots of different expenses. So just summing up, really, most of you have some sort of account system. It could be something sophisticated, Xero. You could be working all off of Excel spreadsheets. Or maybe there are other spreadsheets available, not just Microsoft. Some people use the numbers or the iPad ones, but they all have the basic same functionality. There may be some things that you can do in Excel that you can't do in some of these other packages, but you can do a lot of it. So don't delay. Pop a spreadsheet together this week. Manage your costs in Excel and report on them. Put a couple of charts in there. Manage your expenses. You've got the expenses records. Make sure you've got those and very clear where you use mileage. Forecast your income and expenditure and your whole cash flow. Do your budgets. Manage your tax and VAT. There's not that many spreadsheets that are essential. It won't take you long to put those together. And lastly, identify your trends. And of course, on the 13th of May, if you want some help, come along, bring a laptop, put some dummy data together, or you can have your own figures. And I'm going to cover what we've done today and more and help you build all these things. I've also got a Word course as well. So what's next? Do come along to the virtual training online. We will be building some of those models. And we've also got a Word one where I'm going to take your branding with you, and you're going to create a whole template of being able to have your colour schemes so that you don't have to think anymore about presenting documents. All the elements are all in there. You can always email me, call me, but email is good because I'm often online training, so my phone is often on silent, I am afraid. Most of the time I am online. So do email me any questions or book up on the 13th of May and it'll be great to see you online. So thank you very much, and I will hand back to Louise.
There we go.
It's both of us. It's
Both of you. Sorry.
There we go. Wow, Suzanne, that's really, really good talk. Thank you so much. My hand's sore, actually. I've been making so many notes. So yeah, thank you. That was really, really good. Really good.
Excellent. Yes, very good. Okay, so we're all now going to finish up in this room, and we'll come back in 10 minutes for the workbook session. You should have had the workbook. If you haven't, say now, mention it now, and Gareth will make sure it comes across to you. But it was sent over, was it a couple of days ago now, Louise? Yeah?
Yeah, it was sent over. I think on Wednesday, I think it was sent over.
Fantastic.
Can we put the link? Can we put the link in chat as well, just in case anyone can't find it?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Can I just say a quick shout out? I wanted to just say, first of all, good morning to Munya. I know it's your first session here at the Hub. You've recently joined, so welcome. I'm really pleased you've come along today and really enjoyed your first session here at the Hub. And I also want to say good morning to Caroline. Caroline is a guest today. And yeah, she came along, I think it was Hazelmere Jumpstart January. So yep. We met you there. So welcome, Caroline. Lovely to have you with us today for your first free session. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll be in touch as to, you know, how you can join the membership and what else we can offer you. So yeah, really good to see you here this morning.
Fantastic. Okay, so the link to the next session will have been sent via email, and the workbook, shall we stick it into the Facebook group as well, Louise?
Yeah, Gareth can do that. He can put that into the Facebook group. If you could do that, Gareth, that would be great.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Shumi's asking, can we resend the workbook? So it'll be in the Facebook group right now.
Yeah, we'll stick it in the Facebook group so that people can get it from there.
Good.
If you aren't in the Facebook group, then please ask to join. If you're a guest and you still would like the workbook, then again, just mention it in here and we'll email it to you in the next 10 minutes. But don't worry, we'll get it to you. And the link to the second session will have also been sent via email. Check your emails, check your inboxes, check your spam and your junk folders if you can't see them in there, and whitelist those particular emails from Eventbrite. And
okay, well, I see Wendy has said that she can't attend the second session. No problem, but it was lovely to have you here with us this morning, Wendy. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm parched for a quick cup of coffee. Yep. And yeah, and then we'll see you on the other side, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be back in 10 minutes for part 2. We will see you soon. Thank you for attending. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Looking forward to the second session, and see everyone in that meeting in 10 minutes. All the very best. Goodbye.